Hi, this is Roy on Yard of Random Books, where I talk about the strange joys of abandoned books and other things that come my way. And those of us who like old books and seek to buy them, obviously there are some great secondhand bookshops we can go to, maybe fewer of those than we would like. We probably spend, sorry, there was a fly, which seems to have gone. I made the fly leave the room with pure booktube mind power. We probably spend plenty of time darting in and out of charity shops, thrift shops, that kind of thing. Wouldn't it be great if you could go to some of the finest historical architectural places in the land, set in beautiful rural settings, possibly with great cafes serving cream teas as well? I'm here to tell you that you can, because the National Trust, which is a charity that Brits will probably know this. It's a charity that owns loads of castles, stately homes, industrial heritage buildings, all sorts of things like that, and vast tracts of countryside. And you can pay to visit them, or you can be a member and you go for free. And I noticed a few years ago some of them started having a second-hand bookstall somewhere in their property, and read an article recently. This has become quite a big thing, and actually earns them quite a lot of money, which I suppose it would, because they've already got the space. They will get People will donate the stock to them, and volunteers will staff it. So it's kind of an ideal business model. Plenty of those. I'll put some stuff in the description about that phenomenon. So it's possible to go to a nice little secondhand book outlet as part of a tourist day out, if you're so minded, which is something we did recently in Yorkshire, a place called Nunnington Hall, which is very lovely. Interesting building, lots of history, really well explained, and the gardens and the grounds are fantastic. Not going to talk about those at all. I'll talk about the one little room in that building that sells secondhand books. So, what did I find there? Well, one thing I noticed is they had a box of books on the floor, all costing 25 pence. So, as someone interested in abandoned and discarded books, that's about as close to abandoned and discarded as you can get. So, I had a route through that where I found a Reader's Digest condensed book, something which, because of my main project of reading the shabby decor books, I've developed a soft spot for these, despised and rejected though they are. So I picked this one up. It's got a Jack Higgins story in it. I think never read any Jack Higgins. There's a guy in our street who really likes them. He was recommending them to me. So I can read this. I'll be able to say to him, "Oh, I read one of those books you were recommending," knowing in my brain that I've actually read an abridged version. Winning at life. So, a condensed book for 25p, not bad. Also, Conan by Robert E. Howard, edited by L. Sprague de Camp. So, a Sphere Conan book from the 70s, which, apart from the vandalism of the price sticker, they kind of underpriced this one because they're quite collectible. Um, these are very much my era of Conan the Barbarian. I bought these as a teenager. Lovely books. A lot of them got these Frank Frazetta covers, and the best of the Conan stories because they include the original ones by Howard. Um, and obviously, I have this already, but it appealed to me to get a reading copy. Like I said, I got these pretty much when they came out. I'll tell you something, as it's just us. As a teenager, I had this row of the Conan books with their Sphere logos all lined up on a little shelf in my bedroom. And for some reason, I had a small pot of luminous paint. So I put dots of luminous paint into the circles of the Sphere logos so that in the darkness of the night, I could still see the books glowing in their awesomeness. Don't tell anybody else that. Yes. So, Conan, good find. And finally, um, The Penguin Guide to London, 1958, which I just bought partly because it's a lovely, lovely book in terms of design. I really like these blocky, sort of abstract covers. It looks great now. Imagine when it was new and this was clean and bright. It just would have looked fantastic. It's, I think, the first of the Penguin Guides to London by F.R. Banks. They carried on doing these into, I think, the 70s. But this just has a lovely look about it. Um, Weirdly, it would still function fairly well as a guidebook because a lot of the key things are still in the same places. The prices are different. I don't think you can get a cup of coffee for 9 old pennies, but you could try. It's just so evocative of the time. You know, reading about train travel, um, where you can telegrams ordering refreshments or reserving rooms at railway hotels, etc., may be sent free of charge from any station. Stuff like that, and talk about Pullman cars and so on. It's like stepping back into a like a Paul Temple crime story or something like that. Um, Plenty of maps, useful stuff. The strange looking underground with a map that if where the lines actually go as opposed to the diagrammatic version. There's a yeah, map bus routes, some of which are still the same. Still the same number of buses still go the same places, which I thought was kind of odd. Don't see why they wouldn't. And all sorts of cool stuff. It would be a great resource if somebody was writing a novel set in that period. Things like exactly how dancing and cabaret worked in nightclubs, for instance. You need to pay a subscription, usually 48 hours in advance. Um, and things like the opening hours, you wouldn't necessarily need to wear evening dress. Useful stuff. I guess this is probably just a fantasy of mine, but 1958, um, austerity had kind of ended. In fact, I think this was an era of prosperity. It was the sort of you've never had it so good era. Although you could still see the shadow of the Second World War still hangs over things. There's a talk about a lack of hotel accommodation because of destruction of buildings during the war. That's still a factor, but generally, people had more money and more leisure, generally speaking. So I suppose tourism, including trips to London, clutching your Penguin Guide, and in your Pullman car with your bag of sandwiches and etc., heading for a hotel room that you've telegrammed ahead to book. Um, all of that is summed up in this book. So just thought it was very, very lovely. So not the hugest book haul ever, but some nice odd things, and always will be looking out to see if National Trust properties are having secondhand books as part of their offer. Okie doke, that's me. Goodbye.